This is about to be a big one. Today's actually day 3 of me going through our storage unit. Sutton and I just made a trip over there and grabbed a ton of stuff, so we have a lot to go through today. There's a couple of things that I have thought of in the last few days that I'm like, I wish I had that, I need to find that. So I did go over to the storage unit with the intention of grabbing some things that I do in fact miss. But I want to say that we have lived without this stuff for at least, I want to say 6 months now, roughly, and we've not really thought about much of what's in there. So me going through the storage unit, I am really taking a long, hard look at every single thing that we packed in there. And if you're new, this stuff was packed in the storage unit because we were supposed to be moving. So we were trying to make our move easier, but we didn't end up moving. Did we make our lives a little bit harder in the long run? Yes. But life got crazy and it just is what it is. But now we're going to deal with it. I'm going through every single thing that we have put into our storage unit today. Like I said, today we're on day 3. I've already filmed 2 days of going through the storage unit. So this should be a good long decluttering video, but it's probably going to take me multiple parts to go through everything that's in there because there is a lot. But I think where I'm going with all of this is that we've lived without this stuff for so long now that we probably don't need the majority of it. So I'm really combing through everything that we've put into the storage unit and making a really hard decision about whether or not we truly need it. So something has to be really special in order for me to keep it, but I am looking forward to just getting this storage unit emptied out, getting our lives kind of put back together, living normal life for a little bit, and then taking the next steps, whatever that may be. But yeah, let's get into it. This is gonna be a big declutter today. This was very much an impromptu project for me. I kind of just had this spark and I decided I wanted to get storage emptied out entirely. When we packed this stuff, I decluttered as I went. I was trying to go into it with the mindset of, do I want to bring this to a brand new house? Would I buy this again for a brand new house? And if something didn't make the cut, I didn't pack it. I donated or tossed it. But then we went months and months without needing any of this, and I had a feeling this was going to happen, but I realized I needed to declutter again. If I haven't needed any of this in months, what makes me think I'm going to need it now? So with each box that I unpacked, I was even more ruthless than the last time that I went through all of this. The first few containers and boxes I grabbed had toys in them. Toys can be hard for me to get rid of because I feel a sense of guilt, but after having these toys packed up for so long and my kids not asking me for things, it took that guilt away because I knew they likely weren't missing any of it and probably forgot some of it existed. Plus, I do find that having a smaller collection of toys, my kids play better. And with Christmas season right around the corner, I know they'll not only get some new things and we just don't need all of this, but also there are families out there relying on donations in order to give their kids some new toys for the holidays. So it's a good time to get all of this out of my house before they start looking for stuff for their children. I also grabbed a bin of 4T clothes since that will be my youngest next size. Again, when I packed all of this clothing up, I decluttered it, but going through it again now, I got rid of even more before even putting any of this away into his drawers. My threshold for clutter has really evolved over time, and I just find myself less and less emotionally attached to items over time. My kids' clothes used to be a hard one for me to go through. That's another thing I've really overcome just with time, and I'm able to donate so much more now. When they've outgrown something, I used to hold on to everything, not even just like the special outfits, but every tiny sock, every plain onesie, every hat, even if they've never even worn it. If you're struggling with something similar, I want to encourage you that eventually getting rid of those things does get easier. You have to start slow and start with the items that aren't sentimental and really work your way up from there. It takes time and patience and a lot of self-reflection, but if you're really wanting to simplify your life, declutter your home, and have less stuff, you will get there even when it comes to the harder items to part with. Another thing that was important to me through this declutter process was to make sure I actually had places for the items I was choosing to bring back in. This makes emptying out the storage unit slower, but the last thing I wanted to do was end up in a position where my house was out of control and once again full of clutter when I'm actually trying to do the opposite. So as soon as I went through the bin of 4T clothes, I made sure to also go through his drawers and his closet and declutter the things that no longer fit or are out of season to make sure I have room for the next size up, and I got that stuff immediately put away. So you'll kind of notice throughout this video that we will go through a couple boxes, we'll start putting things away, we'll start decluttering the spaces I'm putting things away. This has just been a huge project for me, and there's just so many different levels to going through the storage unit than just going through things and bringing them back into my house. We have been living without this stuff for so long now that some of it just doesn't have a place anymore. My desire for a peaceful and clean space is a lot stronger than my desire to just own things for the sake of owning them. And if I think things are going to impact my peace and make it harder for me to keep my home clean, then I'm going to get rid of them. While we're talking all things decluttering, you want to know one of the ways I reduce waste in my home? Green Chef. Not to mention fall is here, our schedules are busy, we've got activities multiple nights in the week. A meal kit delivery service with pre-prepped ingredients that are organic and farmers market quality. Yes, sign me up. Meal planning is the worst. The fact that I have to make 3 meals a day every day for the rest of my life should be illegal, but Green Chef is my actual lifesaver right now. Green Chef is the #1 meal delivery service for clean eating. There are 80 plus weekly menu options to choose from, and you can even adjust them based on your own personal dietary restrictions, whether that be plant-based, gluten-free, and more. We actually had this vegetarian meal. It was creamy tomato penne with Parmesan squash. I love that I can try new things I otherwise probably would not have made. And since the ingredients come pre-portioned, I have exactly what I need and nothing is going to waste or rotting in my fridge. Weeks that I have Green Chef deliveries are my saving grace. I don't have to meal plan and grocery shop. My stress levels are lower. I can have a delicious meal on the table in under 15 minutes, and we can be out the door for flag football with good food in our bellies. If you've been on the fence about trying out a meal kit delivery service, I would definitely recommend Green Chef. And now's the perfect time to try it because I have a code to save you some money. So head to greenchef.com or click the link below and use my code 50Catherine to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Green Chef box plus 20% off for 2 months. That's code 50Catherine at greenchef.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Green Chef box plus 20% off for 2 months. Code 50Catherine at greenchef.com. So be sure to check out the link in my description box and use my code to save yourself some money. Everything counts in this economy and the price of groceries. Definitely get yourself a couple of yummy and easy dinners from Green Chef. It's a win-win. You get good food and you can save some money. And be sure to let me know what you think. I have yet to try something from there that's not delicious, and the time that it saves me is truly priceless. Thank you so much to Green Chef for sponsoring this week's video. Glassware, hostware, this stuff is challenging for me. I don't have a huge collection of these items and I want to keep them. I don't host things super often, but I have a few nice pieces that I use when I do. My biggest issue is storage. I typically store these things in our corner cabinet in our kitchen, which once again is going to need to be reworked in order to add some things back in. I think I need to potentially reconfigure a couple cabinets in my kitchen. I think I'm not using my space as efficiently as I could be, but I now understand why China cabinets are a thing. Maybe I need to get one of those. All that being said though, I did get rid of a couple of things from both of these boxes. Alright guys, we haven't been in this room in a very long time, so the rug is pretty bad just from the cats and not vacuuming it for a long time. Also, one of my cats chose this as like her laying spot, so there's fur everywhere. And then this disaster. So all these boxes were given to us by a woman who had just moved. At the time, we were supposed to be moving, and then obviously that didn't end up happening. So now we just have all these boxes in here. So I'm going to take on the task today of breaking all of them down to recycle. My goal is to just get this room functional again so we can use it like a playroom. This was quite the undertaking. There were boxes inside of boxes, just so many things. And the person that we got this from must really like wine because there were so many wine boxes in here. I was really putting off doing this for a while because we still weren't exactly sure what we were going to be doing moving forward as far as like moving and all of that. But I do actually have an official update for you guys about all of that. I'm not sure if it's already up or if that video is going to be going up next. Sometimes my videos will go up just a little bit out of order depending on sponsors and approvals and all of that. So if it is up, I'll link it, but if it's not, then that should be coming next. It'll be nice when that is out there and I can kind of freely talk about our next steps, but I was just trying to be a little bit more private about it, I guess, until things were a little bit more official. And while they're not 100% official, like something could still happen, we are on the right track for next steps. So I'm excited to give you guys that update very soon, if it's not up already. While we're on the topic of breaking down all of these boxes, I wanted to mention that yes, I do recycle and yes, I do donate as much as possible. I always get those questions when I post videos titled like throwing everything away. That's just the name of the series, like getting rid of it all, throwing everything out. That's just what I call these videos, but I'm not actually throwing everything into the trash. That would be insane. So rest assured, I make sure to donate and recycle as much as possible, and all of these boxes were recycled. While it would obviously be easier to just fill up a dumpster with all of this stuff, I think it's important to make sure that I'm donating and recycling. I take so many trips to the donation center. I feel like I practically live there now. Now, I just want to say that trying to do any sort of decluttering project with your children around is going to be 100 times harder than trying to do it without them around. Sutton wanted to be involved in everything, and you'll see him quite a bit throughout this entire video. I typically try to not film with my kids around and not have them in my videos, but what am I going to do? He's 3.5 years old and he wants to be involved in everything that I'm doing, and he's with me like I would say 90% of the time, if not 95% of the time. But that being said, I do think it's important to involve your kids in the declutter process a little bit. I think that there's some valuable lessons to be learned. So as hard as it was to have him around while I was trying to do all of this stuff, it is also probably a good thing for his little brain to witness me doing all of it. And hopefully I'm raising my kids to not fall into the consumerism trap someday. I did not have high hopes for this area rug given how bad it looked. I thought that it was probably not salvageable, to be honest, but I'm using my new Eureka corded vacuum in here. I worked with them on a video pretty recently. This vacuum is seriously amazing, especially considering the price. Like, this price point is awesome and the vacuum's so powerful, and it completely changed this area rug. It looked so much better after just running over it with this vacuum. There's a couple of stains I'll have to work on whenever I get my Bissell Pet Pro back from my mom, but overall this vacuum is amazing. And also watch how it cleans up the cat fur on the couch as well. It's crazy. So if you're looking for a really good affordable option, this vacuum is definitely a good one. And I know that it's not like a cordless vacuum and everyone seems to prefer those these days, but sometimes you just gotta have a corded vacuum. Sometimes they're just a little bit better, more powerful, and you don't have to worry about a dead battery. But back to my toddler being with me all the time. He is with me right now, so if you hear a lot of rattling and noises in the background, that is why. And here we have the after, the rug looking so much better, the couch looking all clean, the room is pretty much empty, all of these containers are empty and ready for some toys to be added back in. But now let's continue going through some boxes. Like I said on the first day, a lot of the things that we were going through were toys. My toddler had specifically asked me for all of his construction trucks, so we went over there looking for those, and he was so excited to be reunited with some of this stuff. Again, a lot of these things he was not asking for, he didn't even remember existed, so I was able to declutter a lot, but he did remember a couple of things like the construction trucks, and he was really excited to have those back. But that box is things I'm going to donate. I'm also donating all of this clothes in this box as well as a few more toys, and then my oldest and I went back to the storage unit so that we could grab some more things to bring home and go through. Being over there was incredibly overwhelming. Like, every single visit I've had to take over to the storage unit, I feel like my brain is just spinning the entire time. Trying to find stuff is really challenging and it feels like I'm playing a game of Tetris. Plus, some of these boxes were insanely heavy and difficult to move, and we have some bigger pieces of furniture and some outdoor things that take up a ton of space, but it's so satisfying to see all of the stuff start to dwindle down.
No, you just need a man.
Yeah. And this is where we were at the end of the first day. It really does not look much better at all, but you will see some improvement by the end of this video. I can only fit so much in my car, and also I can only fit so much in my house. So we're taking this just a little bit at a time. It's a slow process, but it's definitely worth it. Most of the toys that I had grabbed on that second trip were things that my kids have definitely not asked for and have definitely not played with in a really long time. So I was able to declutter so much on this second day of going through stuff. I was really holding on to all of the Buzz Lightyear and Toy Story toys just for my own sentimental purposes, but again, I'm kind of over holding on to things just for sentimental reasons. And I also felt kind of guilty because those are pretty expensive. Like, the official Disney toys can be a lot of money, but again, my kids never play with them. They hardly ever have. Most of that stuff is like brand new looking, so I'd much rather donate that and have some little kid on Christmas get a brand new Buzz Lightyear and Zurg that talk to each other and be excited about it and truly play with it than have it sit in my basement and collect dust. But speaking of my basement and collecting dust, we are back in my basement playroom. That is where the playroom is located if you're new here and you didn't know that. We like to keep a lot of our toys out of sight so that I can just kind of shut the door at the end of the day and not have to think about it. We keep a pretty minimal collection upstairs in our living room. This just makes cleanup easier for me on a daily basis, which brings me to my next topic, which is trying to declutter when you have a family. It is so hard, truly. I've worked very hard the last couple of years to get rid of stuff, minimize what we're bringing in and staying on top of it, but I still find it challenging. Between holidays and birthdays, kids bring in quite a bit throughout the year, not to mention school papers and projects, ever-changing wardrobes as they grow, collections kids start, and hobbies they pick up, and the items that get brought in for that. It's going to feel like an uphill battle, probably forever, but I often remind myself that everything is a season, and as much as I want a clutter-free and minimal home, it's really not possible with a family for things to ever be perfect. So don't beat yourself up about that if you're struggling. It is totally normal, and all we can do is just our best, whatever that looks like for each one of us as individuals. These picture frames and things that I was going through were all things that made the cut when I did my big basement declutter, and I have done a couple of declutters of my basement, so they have survived quite a few cuts, but it was finally time for me to part ways with them because I just was not using them, and they've all pretty much been sitting in my basement for the last 4 years, so it was time for me to just get rid of those. I gave these away and I have no regrets. One thing about trying to declutter with your kids around is you have to be kind of quick. You have to grab stuff and get it in those trash bags and get them in the trunk of your car before they can see, because kids have an excuse to keep every single thing, even if they definitely would not touch it, use it, or play with it and would forget about it 5 minutes later. So I wanted to make sure that I was staying on top of getting things into trash bags and getting them into my car before my son had a chance to notice what I was doing. Plus, the more stuff I have around me and the more clutter I see around me, I tend to get more and more overwhelmed, and sometimes I can hit a point where I just want to do nothing at all because I don't even know where to begin. So I have to stay on top of just regularly making sure I'm getting this stuff actually out of my house instead of just letting it collect in a pile in the corner. Alright, this is where we're at after going through our storage unit. Days like 1 and 1.5. We have 3 full bags, full trash bags. Some of it's clothes, most of it's toys. We just had so many toys and my kids just weren't playing with them. And then we have some kitchen stuff, we have some rope shelves. I have a bunch of like containers and things that I wasn't using, but a full trunk of stuff to get rid of. And here we are on day 3. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there were a few things I had gone over to storage specifically looking for. One thing was some of our books, another was my box of hair and makeup stuff, and the last thing was our puzzles. But I ended up bringing home so much stuff to go through, so this was probably my busiest day yet. And since I knew I was going to be keeping the stuff I specifically went looking for, I knew it would also mean going through my cabinets and reorganizing a few spaces in order to make that work. So this was a big day for going through storage for sure. And as mentioned earlier, I can hit a point sometimes where I'm so overwhelmed that I just do nothing. So I think that going over to storage and trips and just taking a few things at a time has been really helpful for me and not getting to that point. Decision fatigue is also a real thing. If you try to do too much at once, you may find yourself having a hard time making decisions and just drop the project altogether. So my suggestion for sure, if you have a huge project like this one, like maybe your garage needs to be decluttered, your shed, your basement, or you have a storage unit yourself, is to take it slow, do it a little at a time, and make sure you're getting the stuff out of your house ASAP before you get too overwhelmed. I was surprised to find another box of my clothes. I thought I had already brought all of those back over and gone through them, but there was another one, and this one had a bunch of sweaters in it. I did end up decluttering a huge chunk of what was in here. I only kept a couple of things, so that felt really good. And now we're gonna go through my hair and makeup stuff, which this box was a complete disaster. There was so much in here, and I have enough razor replacements that I could probably never buy one again for the rest of my entire life. So you'll see me kind of struggling to organize all of those. Now, actually, the reason why I wanted to grab my box of hair and makeup stuff was because I wanted my eyelash serum that I had put in here, and obviously there's a lot more in here than just eyelash serum. So I'm gonna kind of go through all of this stuff, lay it out next to me. I tried to organize all of those razor heads, like I said, but the good majority of this I did end up getting rid of. I brought a lot of it into my bathroom so that I could kind of look at it against what I already have, and also reorganize my bathroom cabinet a little bit just to make sure that I had the space to store some of the things that I wanted to keep. But again, the only thing in this box that I truly missed and was looking for was my eyelash serum. So I kept trying to remind myself of that as I was going through this stuff, because it can definitely be tempting to keep more than what I thought I needed. And once I saw everything, I was like, oh wait, I remember this. Oh wait, I remember that. And do I need this? And maybe I missed that, but I ended up being pretty brutal with myself about getting rid of stuff. So I did kind of a preliminary go through of everything in here and just got rid of the things that I initially felt like I wasn't going to keep. And then I did bring the other stuff into my bathroom, which you guys will see later on when we declutter those spaces and reorganize them. This bin is a perfect example of how sometimes you forget that things exist and you realize that you never needed them and you don't need them. So if this bin had just gone poof and disappeared from my storage unit, I never would have realized that any of this stuff was gone. So I'm not really sure what I was thinking when I packed this up and put it in storage. If I even was the one who packed this up, this may have been my husband because he was doing stuff as well, but I did declutter everything that was in that bin. I was watching a video of my friend Lauren Midgley the other day, and she was decluttering a closet, and I really liked one of the tips that she shared. So basically what she said is, if you're looking in a space in your home and you want to declutter it, just think to yourself, what if all of this disappeared tomorrow? Would I run out and repurchase any of this? And if the answer is no, then you're probably safe to get rid of it. Sometimes decluttering really is just a mind game. So between that tip and then my other favorite, which is just to kind of put yourself in the mindset that you're moving, and would you bring these items to your new home, and would you purchase them again for your new home? That can be really helpful too when you're having a hard time going through a space. It is all about finding what works best for you, but those things definitely help me when I'm trying to think about if I need something or not. And once again, like I said earlier, I start to get really overwhelmed when I see a lot of visual clutter around me. So I wanted to start collecting everything into bags to put them in the trunk of my car and bring them to donate or throw them in a trash bag. I did end up collecting one bag of trash this day, but for the most part, I was able to donate most everything I decluttered from my storage unit, and I feel really good about that. When I went through my basement, I ended up with a ton of trash because we had a rodent issue at one point. There's a lot of creepy crawlies down there. Some of this stuff was just so dusty and disgusting that it was not salvageable. And I hated that feeling of throwing stuff away like that. So it felt really good that a lot of this stuff I was able to just go ahead and donate. And I know that it's probably not going to go to waste. But I definitely felt like I was not going to be able to continue working on this day unless I got all of this cardboard broken down and all of the stuff out of my house and out of my sight. Plus, I needed to reorganize all of my kids' craft supplies, and I had all of this stuff piled right up in front of the cabinet where I store that, so I really had no choice but to make sure that this got taken care of before I moved on to anything else. Guys, the level of overwhelm overwhelm I'm feeling right now looking at this room and all of this stuff. I have to go through all of this. This is all like the kids' craft supplies, and I need to reorganize it into the cabinet where it used to be. And then I need to also, I just need to put some stuff away. I know where some things go. And then all of that over there, those are my like bathroom hair makeup things I had packed. So I need to completely reorganize underneath my bathroom sink in order to fit everything the way that it used to. So we have some projects we gotta do. My kids are in and out of this cabinet all day. They love to do crafts, especially my youngest right now. He's really into this, so it becomes a mess pretty quickly. I have to go through this all the time anyway, but we're gonna quickly go through all of the stuff in here to make sure that I have space to add in a couple of their other craft supplies that we've been without. Neither one of my kids really enjoy coloring books, so I knew I was safe to get rid of those. They really just prefer having plain paper and to be able to make their own projects. So I was able to kind of consolidate some of the paper together, get rid of those coloring books, and then I put some special color changing markers on the bottom, and I organized their paint brushes into that bottom part of the container as well. And now we're going through all of their markers to get rid of any that didn't have caps and were probably completely dried out, and going through the crayons to get rid of any that are just broken and no good anymore. Once I get all of this sorted and decluttered, I can start putting things back, and then I can work on organizing some of their other craft supplies back into the cabinet that have been sitting in storage. They were really excited to have their sketcher back. They got a smart sketcher for Christmas last year, and it's been in storage for the last 5 or 6 months, and that was the first thing that my oldest was excited to have when he got home and realized I had unpacked some of that stuff, which kind of got me thinking about the whole toy rotation system and all of that. There really is some merit to it. I've been saying that for a long time, but especially now that I'm going through the storage unit and taking some of the things back from there and bringing it back into our home, my kids are so much more excited to have these things than they ever were before. So this was kind of an inadvertent way to really teach myself a lesson about toy rotation and how valuable it actually is, because I've noticed how well my kids are playing and how happy they are to have some of the older stuff out now that I've gone through it. But here's the after of the craft cabinet. I think it looks a little bit better. It may look super cluttered to some people, but my kids truly do use all of this stuff. Something I was really excited to have back are my kids' photo books. I look at these all the time. I make them for both of my kids every 6 months. They're just a collection of all my favorite photos of them pretty much. And I have them all in order from age 0 all the way up to their current ages. I am a little bit behind. I think I have like 1 or 2 books I have to make at the moment, but these are some of my favorite things and I was excited to put them back out. Okay, moving into the bathroom. This area was so freaking unorganized. It had been bothering me a lot. So I'm excited to get this under control. I started by just decluttering one side of the cabinet, taking everything out of it. Now I'm going through the drawers. I actually really don't like these drawers that I have in here because they have a tendency to just slip out and fall out and spill everywhere if you're not careful. Not a huge fan of them, but they're fine for right now. But I had quite a bit of trash and just stuff to get rid of from inside of both of these drawers, and then pretty much that whole left side under the bathroom sink was all junk. But this was long overdue, and I was really happy that this gave me an excuse to take care of it on this day. We share one bathroom right now for our entire family of 4, and it can be really challenging sometimes to make it work. Trying to organize in here is pretty tricky. So I have to be really careful about how much stuff I have and what I'm keeping, and just be really intentional about storage and keeping things organized. I cannot believe how much stuff I used to have compared to now. Like, we just have this one small vanity and we have one little cabinet in here, and I have to make that work. So compared to what I used to have, I have way less stuff. And you may look inside of my medicine cabinet and be like, girl, what are you talking about? You still have so much stuff. And for sure, yes, I do still have a lot of stuff. I am just a girl after all, but it is a huge improvement over what I used to have. At one point, I lived in an apartment and I had an entire vanity to myself, and it was like the size of a double vanity. And I had every single drawer filled, including under the kitchen sink. There was a ton of storage in there. I've come a long way, even if it may not seem like it. Makeup is one of those things that especially pains me to get rid of, but I usually use up everything for the most part. It's pretty rare that I have to throw something away before it hits like its expiration date. But in case you didn't know this, makeup does expire and it really doesn't have that long of a shelf life. I want to say it's between like 6 months to 12 months usually. I rarely see something that lasts 24 months. So definitely make sure that you're going through your makeup on a regular basis. You do not want to be using something expired that might be bad for your skin. But this is everything that I'm getting rid of from in my bathroom. I'm feeling so overwhelmed. Obviously, this kitty's not, but I am going to work on cleaning my house and just getting things put away, and then I'll check in after on the progress and how much I'm going to be donating today and how much trash I'm getting rid of. So I'll check back in with you guys after. I'm just feeling so overwhelmed with adding stuff back into my house. Hi, pretty girl. Hello. All right, so this is not like clean and decluttered looking by any means, but it looks better than it did earlier. This bag right here is trash, so I'm gonna bring that outside for my husband. There is a leaf blower going so loud right now outside my door, so I'll just insert a clip of everything in my car ready to be brought to donate. My trunk is completely full. So between these last 3 days that I've been decluttering my storage unit, we have got rid of so much, it's crazy. I still have work to do to get my house kind of just the way that I want it to be with all of the stuff added in, but at least I was able to organize a couple of the spaces that I needed to today. That's the end of this week's video. So here's just a reminder of everything that I decluttered on days 1, 2, and 3, and I hope you'll come back again next time for part 2.